Hello and welcome to Kev's English Podcast, Real English every week with your host Kev Dean.
The English ecosystem. A simple system to improve your English skills by using both online and offline resources. Written by Kevin Dean. Introduction. Hello and welcome to my ebook. I hope you will find it useful and that the resources and methods I mention within these pages will help you to reach your goal of improving your English. All links were checked in January 2026, so they should be okay. If not, contact me and I can suggest alternatives. I know that some of you listening to this guide will want to improve your English for work. That being so, this guide will focus on general English. However, if you need specific guidance for exams such as OET or IELTS, feel free to contact me and I will be happy to assist. So, to begin, a question I am often asked as an English teacher is, how can I learn English fast? Or how can I learn English well? The first important point to make is that you cannot learn English or improve any skill fast. Sometimes we would like to, but the reality is that learning and trying to absorb new information into the brain is a slow process. Faster for some people and slower for others. And this is why there is no quick and easy shortcut or method, no magic trick to achieve English fluency in 30 days, as some would have you believe. Improving your English requires time, effort, and consistency. And for most of you, it will also require you to change your habits and routines. For example, if you are a native Russian speaker, you might use Russian language media and social platforms most of the time, in which case you will be surrounded by Russian all day. As a result, your brain will just get used to Russian, and so you can't be surprised when your English does not improve. If you really want to improve your English, you will have to insert or integrate English into your daily life. This could include watching and listening to English, reading English, writing English, and talking in English. You might do all of these things already. However, I suspect that most of you mainly practice only one or two of these skills, and for not enough hours each day or week. So, if your English is not improving quickly, it might be because you are not spending enough hours of interaction with the language. Obviously, it is hard to interact with the language all day, but it is possible to integrate it much more than you currently do. In fact, if you really want to make English learning a part of your day, it should become like brushing your teeth or using your phone. Something you do every day and without thinking about it. Then it will become automatic and routine, and it will be easier. However, I understand that this will be a big adjustment for many of you. Maybe you already work a lot and have little free time, you might have children, social commitments, etc. So, you will have to manage your time and create or allocate time for English study and practice. This means it is important to create a system of regular daily habits and routines. And this is what this ebook is about. This guide is essentially a summary of the tools and suggestions I give most learners. There are many ways to learn English, but I want to keep it simple. The best way I can describe it is to say that you need to improve your listening, reading, writing, and speaking skills. You can call these the 4 skills. As a result, I will structure this guide around those. So, in each chapter, I will talk about one of these skills and suggest a range of tools and methods to improve them. I will also discuss online resources and offline methods, as it is important to realize that not all effective language learning happens online. Online learning is important and easier to do for most people, but offline learning is also important and should not be neglected. Real English use is usually offline, and in the real world after all, and not in an app. So, with that said, let's begin. Before we do, though, I should add that I wrote this guide to give you some ideas about how you can build your own learning system and routines. I want you to become an independent learner and take control of your learning process. I have suggested the best apps and sites I know, but there are many more, and so you can experiment and find what works best for you. There are many different sites and services online, and more are being created all the time. So, don't worry too much about finding the best method or app. There is no one-size-fits-all approach. The most important thing is to choose what is best for you and to keep practicing. I wish you all the best in your English journey. Kind regards, Kevin Adine. Chapter 1. Listening. As I mentioned earlier, the best way to improve your English skills is to try and make your study a part of your day. In the same way that personal trainers recommend making exercise a regular habit and routine, learning English, indeed any skill, is no different. Why I mention this in relation to listening is that it is so easy these days to find, download, and listen to good, authentic English materials in the form of podcasts. You can also find audiobooks as well, usually a one-off, not a series. In fact, lots of famous actors record this kind of material, and they are well worth listening to. However, you will probably have to pay for these, but here is a site which lists links to free audiobooks. So have a look, Open Culture's free audiobook list, or the volunteer-narrated gems at LibriVox. So you can download and listen to authentic English audio while you are taking part in your daily activities. While traveling to work and coming home again, anytime you have some free time, in fact. In this way, you can make English a part of your day without too much effort. Listening to podcasts is one way to tune your ears into the sounds of English, and it can also help with comprehension and pronunciation if you listen and repeat after the speakers. But for now, I will list some podcasts I particularly recommend. These are tried and true favorites that have held up beautifully into 2026, plus a few newcomers that have caught my ear this year. The good thing about having this resource is you can listen to them almost anywhere, in the car, on the bus, tram, etc. The important thing is to make sure you listen to something you are interested in. There are so many pods available that you should be able to find something that matches your interests, to avoid boredom setting in. Here are a few resources I recommend. I'll include the exact links in the notes. Podcasts, BBC Learning English, Luke's English Podcast, and All Ears English. Audiobooks, Loyal Books, and Lit2Go. Chapter 2. Watching. Now, listening to podcasts is not the only way to get listening practice, improve comprehension skills, etc. As I'm sure you know, watching films and TV is also an important way to immerse yourself in English. Watching these programs in the evening, for example, can be an excellent way to further make English an integral part of your daily study routine, so much so that you might forget it is actually study. I do not want you to think that watching these things is too easy, and you can just watch films and shows and magically speak fluent English. Watching these resources is but one part of a total system of using all 4 skills: listening, reading, writing, and most importantly, speaking. However, it is a good way to immerse yourself, to learn new vocabulary and phrases, and if you watch programs, and especially if you watch them repeatedly, you might find you start to remember the phrases and find yourself using them in speech. Another important thing about watching media is that it can help with pronunciation and even conversation skills. In a TV show, you are watching and hearing real English used in conversation. So, you are learning not just words, but how English is used. This is very important. Now, one thing I suggest you do is watch a program first with subtitles in your language, then watch it again with English subtitles, and then if you can, watch it once without subtitles. This will help you to understand the content, then focus on the English, and finally test your listening and comprehension. Also, you can pause and repeat lines, or even write down phrases you like. I should also mention that YouTube is one of the best resources for watching English content. There are thousands of channels and videos on every topic you can imagine. The key is to find content you enjoy and make it a habit. Now, one practical tool I recommend is Language Reactor, a browser extension that helps you work with subtitles and transcripts. I'll include the link in the notes. And yes, there are many other sites too. For legal reasons, I won't name them here, but I'm sure you can find some by yourself. Chapter 3. Reading. Now, reading is an underrated but very powerful way to improve English. When you read, you expose yourself to vocabulary, grammar, and phrasing in a more stable form than listening. You can slow down, reread, check words, and take notes. Reading also improves your writing. This is because you start to absorb the patterns of written English. sentence structure, linking, punctuation, tone, and style. So, what should you read? The answer is anything you are interested in. If you love business, read business articles. If you love football, read football news. If you love science, read science blogs. The main thing is that you keep it interesting. Now, if you feel your level is not high enough to read normal texts, there are many graded news and learning sites with simpler English. And if you like books, you can start with children's books or graded readers, and then move up to novels. The key is consistency. Read every day, even if it's only for 5 minutes. Another simple method is to read something short, then summarize it in your own words. This can be written or spoken. This will improve your comprehension and your ability to express ideas. Reading is also a great way to learn vocabulary in chunks, not single words. When you see a phrase in context, you are more likely to remember it. Finally, reading is a calm skill. It is not stressful. You can work at your own pace, which is something you cannot easily do when listening or speaking, while reading you can spend as long as you like with the text. Read a page a day or in 5 minutes, however you do it best. Here are a few resources I recommend. I'll include the exact links in the notes. Apps, Kindle Vocabulary, Builder Help Page, LingQ, Readwise Reader, Moon Plus Reader, and Anki. Reading materials, VOA, Learning English, British Council, Learn English, Breaking News, English, News in Levels, and Project Gutenberg. Chapter 4. Writing. Writing is where a lot of learners avoid discomfort. It's slower than speaking, and it feels more serious because you can see your mistakes. But writing is one of the best ways to improve your grammar, accuracy, and vocabulary. It forces you to think about structure and clarity. The key with writing is feedback. If you write but nobody corrects you, you will improve much more slowly. So, you need some kind of feedback loop, a teacher, a correction community, or even tools like grammar checkers. But don't rely on tools blindly. When a tool suggests a correction, don't just accept it. Ask, what changed? Grammar/word choice/tone/punctuation. Why did it change? Rule/clarity/register/naturalness. Can I rewrite it myself? Then say it aloud. I can be excellent for grammar, vocabulary, and natural phrasing, and yes, ChatGPT can be very helpful. But the learning happens when you rewrite the sentence and understand the reason. If you want practical examples, I've got videos on the English Native YouTube channel on how to use AI properly without becoming dependent on it. Make writing real. Writing improves faster when it has a reader. For example, you can post short writing in a community, swap corrections with another learner, write emails/messages you actually need, and start a simple blog, even 1 paragraph a week. The moment your writing becomes communication, not homework, you improve faster. Here are a few resources I recommend. I'll include the exact links in the notes. Resources: British Council, Writing Practice, British Council, Learn English, Write and Improve, Cambridge, LangCorrect, Grammarly, and Language Tool. Chapter 5. Speaking. Now to turn to the most important skill, for most of you at least, that of speaking. I know that for many people, practicing your spoken English is not an easy matter. Maybe the country and city where you live does not have many speakers of English available for you to talk with. And for example, if you decide to go to a language school course, you will often find yourself in a classroom with 4, 6, 8, 10 or more students. The amount of speaking time you will get in such a situation is less than ideal, to say the least. Maybe 5 to 10 minutes maximum per session. And of course, research has shown that this traditional classroom setting can be less than effective for many learners. That is, if you are living somewhere that offers such a course and that you can afford it, neither of which may be true for you. Fortunately, as you know, there is no real reason to neglect this vital area of your English study. As this guide shows, The internet is there to provide to all your language resource needs, and speaking is no exception. The obvious way is to find an online teacher and pay for lessons, but if you don't want or can't afford to do that, is join one of many such sites online. Links below. These are sites where you can talk with other learners of English and set up chats and conversation practice. Some of these sites are for written chat and some offer voice chat. For voice chat, I particularly recommend Free4Talk, as you just sign in with your Gmail and start talking, and as it is worldwide, there is always someone to talk to instantly. Check it out. If you want online speaking partners, try Discord, HelloTalk, Tandem, Free4Talk, and Conversation Exchange. And of course, if you would rather meet in person, there are several options to do that. Most major cities have in-person meetups, either specifically for language practice or for social purposes, where the default language is English. For example, in Bratislava we have Internations and various groups on Facebook, mine included. Check out the links below and see what I mean. Here are a few resources I recommend. I'll include the exact links in the notes. Resources: Internations, a Facebook group for language exchange; Toastmasters Bratislava, Bratislava Quiz Night; and Meetup, English Comedy Bratislava. Chapter 6. AI as a language partner. 3 types of AI and how to use each one. Now to the inevitable, AI, there is no getting away from it, as it has and will penetrate every aspect of work, life, and systems, and perhaps it has a special significance for language learning. As language is text or character-based and AI is proficient in manipulating those, it should come as no surprise that more and more learners, teachers, and language institutions are taking it on board in some form or another. Exact definitions of AI, its types and uses, are beyond the scope of this chapter, so what I will do is explain what the different types of AI are for English learners and how to use and understand them. So, when people say AI is good for learning English, they often talk as if it's one thing. It isn't. In practice, there are 3 different categories, and each one helps in a different way, with different risks. The first category is what I'd call companion bots, apps designed to feel like someone rather than something. These are the ones built around characters, personalities, and emotional connection. If you've been exploring this space, you'll recognize names like Character.ai, Replica, Nomi, Kindroid, Paradot, Anima, Chai, and Talkie. They can be surprisingly effective for one simple reason. They get you talking. For nervous learners, that matters. The stakes feel low, there's no embarrassment, and you can get 10 minutes of speaking practice when you'd otherwise do nothing. But there are risks too. They don't always correct you. They can reinforce mistakes, and they can give you unnatural phrasing because they are designed to be friendly, not accurate. So use them mainly for warm-up speaking, confidence building, fluency, and comfort. The second category is AI-powered language apps. These are tools like Duolingo, Babbel, Boozoo, and others that now include some form of AI practice. They are structured, repetitive, and designed to build habits. They can be good for pronunciation drilling, simple sentence patterns, and consistent daily practice. The danger is that you can feel like you are doing English because you did 10 minutes in an app, but then you never produce real output. So think of them as training support, excellent for habit, practice volume, and pronunciation work, but not the whole ecosystem. The third category is general AI, assistants like ChatGPT, Grok, Copilot, Claude, and so on. These are not language apps. They are general tools that can do almost anything. Explain grammar, rewrite text, simulate conversations, generate practice tasks, and help you reflect on your mistakes. They can be incredibly powerful if you use them correctly. For example, you can ask for corrections and explanations, ask for natural alternatives, ask for role plays, ask for exam practice, ask for vocabulary lists based on your interests, ask for feedback on your writing and speaking, ask for a study plan. But again, the risk is dependence. If you let AI do everything, you stop thinking. You copy and paste. You accept corrections without understanding them. So the right way to use these tools is as a coach, not as a replacement. Use them to create feedback loops. Write something, get corrections, rewrite it yourself, then repeat. Record yourself, transcribe it, get corrections, then practice again. In other words, keep the work on your side. This is where AI becomes powerful, not because it gives you answers, but because it gives you faster feedback. The best use of AI in language learning is in cycles: input, output, feedback, revision, repetition. That's the ecosystem. I have made several videos and podcasts on this where I demonstrate how you can use Chat, Grok, and Copilot as language partners. If you want examples, search for the English Native on YouTube or Spotify. I'll include direct links in the notes. I use AI extensively every day in my work, and they allow me to do more than I could ever have done before they existed. Ask me about this. If we ever meet, I will be happy to bore you on the subject. Conclusion. So, to conclude, the main message of this guide is simple. If you want to improve your English, you need a system. You need regular habits, daily input, and consistent output. You need to use all 4 skills: listening, watching, reading, writing, and speaking. You need feedback loops so you don't repeat the same mistakes. And you need to choose resources you enjoy so you can stay consistent. If you build an English ecosystem around your life, English will become part of your day, not just something you study. And when that happens, improvement becomes inevitable. Thank you for listening, and I wish you all the best with your English. About the author. Kevin A. Dean is an English teacher and exam coach based in Bratislava. He helps adult learners build real-world fluency with simple, repeatable routines, not by studying more, but by turning daily input into confident output through feedback and review. Alongside teaching, Kevin creates a wide range of free learning materials through the English Native, including video lessons, podcast episodes, downloadable practice packs, and student-friendly guides like this one. His work focuses on natural, modern English, speaking confidence, vocabulary in chunks, and practical communication skills that transfer directly to work, study, and everyday conversation. Kevin also supports learners preparing for high-stakes exams such as IELTS and OET, using clear frameworks for writing and speaking that emphasize authenticity, task focus, and consistent practice over memorized lines. Resources and updates, theEnglishNative.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Kevin Anthony D.